Forms are the main way that we use to interact with a website. If you want to submit some information, you usually do it through a form. HTML is the language that you use to create the forms. But having said so, the processing of the forms themselves, storing that information in a database, doing something with that information, that's not done by HTML. That's done by either a server-side or client-side JavaScript. So what I'll do in this lesson is introduce you to forms in HTML. We'll be adding a couple of input fields and we'll add the button to submit a form. So the way to start a form, to initiate a form, is by using the form tag, which basically it tells the browser, hey browser, we're about to start a form. Now we can add some fields. For example, I'm going to add a text field for the name. So just type in name, and to add a basic input field, we're using the input tag, and then specifying the type as text. This is the sort of tag that can be self-closed, like so, because it doesn't have any inside. I'm going to add now a button to save this information, but again, as I mentioned, we're not really saving it anywhere. That's not done by HTML. So if you want to add that sort of button to submit a form, you add an input type submit. You can give it a value of, let's say, save or send, submit, whatever you want to type. Once you're done with your form, you have to close it. So as you can see, this gives us an extremely basic form. And nothing happens. What happens actually if I click this, it'll reload the same page because this is not connected to a server side or anything. So that would be a basic form. You can add more fields, of course. So let's add some more fields. Let's add another field, but this time let's make it a number field. So it can be something like age, and this needs to be number. But look at that. It's not displaying correctly in different lines because, as I mentioned before, the lines that you enter here don't matter. So this could have multiple lines, but it's not going to change how it's displayed. But before we solve that, let me just show you the actual number field. So in this case, I can only enter numbers. If I type letters, nothing happens. And you can also modify the number here. So let's, before we end this lesson, let's fix this multi-line issue. We could use something like the break tag to add a new line, or we could even put this in a paragraph, but it doesn't feel correct because the paragraph is for a text paragraph and the break is to indicate a break inside of a text paragraph or a break in text. So what we want here is to use another tag called div, which is used for generic containers. So everything you put inside of a div tag by default will be shown. A div tag will occupy 100% of the horizontal space, so it basically occupies the entire line. So we can do that for both our tags, and for both our fields we can put all of them inside of div containers. In this way, we are really representing this in a correct way by saying these are different containers these are like generic purpose containers. These can be used to arrange any sort of content in your page. So now we have a basic form, and as you can see, it all starts with a form tag, and then you add certain fields, and you can have a button to save, submit. The behavior of that button is not handled by HTML. So let's have a play with this code, and we'll add some more fields on the next lesson.